Oh, sorry. 9G.
that script again? Probably.
Yes.
Yes, new meeting.
All right. New meeting pursuant to Executive Order N2920. This meeting will be held via live stream. The address is on the website. Participants may attend the meeting by telephone through the teleconference number as well. Text message, public comment, and we will read it aloud during the public comments section of each agenda item. 530-205-8608. And with that, let's waive the pledge and do a roll call.
All right, Vice President Hetherington.
Here.
All right, Director Morrison.
Here.
President Audit.
Here.
Director Stevens.
Here.
Director Wallace.
Here.
Hey, you want to give us a special order of business, COVID-19?
For those tuning in just for the board meeting, we had a workshop and I covered a little bit of just the district's response to COVID. But just a couple highlights is, we're working very hard as an airport to mirror the community we serve. And so we work hard not to be ahead of or behind any of the town and county and state health department and ordinances. So we follow very closely what we're being instructed to do by those entities. And so as things open up a little bit, so will we. We do have Red Truck that will open up here in early June. And there'll be some outdoor dining in our outdoor dining areas that we'll have available. The terminal will be open. The meeting rooms will still be closed. But there are a lot of signs. We have new hand sanitation stations that'll be available, and again, trying to follow all the mask and cleanliness and sanitation rules and orders that come from the county. So overall, pretty well. I covered in a little more detail during the workshop the district finances. Overall, the district finances are in pretty good shape coming through COVID, at least for now. And we'll be tracking that closely through our next quarter. The last thing quickly on the COVID response is I did learn today that Zagster, the bike share company that we've been with, they folded, and
no.
They're going to come get all their stuff and their bikes, and they said they're not doing any reimbursements. So I don't know what that means. I just got this a little while ago, and I'm not sure where we're at on our payments to them. I don't think we've made one for a while, so we may be fine there. But just so everyone's aware, our local community bike share vendor has gone out of business, and the bike share industry has been hit pretty hard by the state home orders in general. That's it for COVID-19 update. Any questions on that one?
No, sir. Any public comment, David?
No public comment.
Okay. But I don't have any changes. Anyone else?
I do, just one. I did put on the agenda, just in case we ran out of time in the workshop, that the land donation acquisition item, that's been covered, so we won't need to do item 11.
Okay, great. Also, public comment. Members of the public may make comments at this time on any items not on the agenda. So let's see. Within the jurisdiction of the board and ACAT. Any public comment, David?
Negative.
Okay. Moving right along to the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions?
No.
I do not.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, Director Hetherington.
Yes.
Any public comment?
Any public comment, right?
There is no public comment.
Okay, Director Hetherington, or Vice President Director Morrison,
Yes.
President Audit,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Wallace.
Yes.
Great. Monthly ops and comment report. Who's giving us that this time?
So those are under the consent agenda.
Okay.
So
Just
they don't-
informational?
Yeah, they're just informational items. If someone wants to talk about it, we're happy to pull it, but
No. Do we have to approve that separately?
No, they're
Okay.
just,
It was
Great.
part of the consent, so you're good.
Awesome. Presentation and approval of the audit.
turn that over to Kelly.
Hi. So Michael Manduka is here with us from JMA, and he's going to give a presentation about our 2019 audit. I will turn it over to you, Mike.
All right, I'm going to see if I can share this presentation with you guys. All right, that should have worked. All right, so this year was a little bit strange as we did the audit all remotely instead of making our so that was a big help. So this is the presentation of the financial audit for the year ended December 31st, 2019. So the audit summary and results. Our audit opinion is on pages 1 through 3. Our opinion is unmodified. This is the opinion you want to get. This is the best opinion you can have. And then Kelly put together a really good management discussion and analysis on pages 4 through 12. It provides financial highlights, financial trends, variances from prior years to current year, and basically just what happened during the year. So it's a good read if you want to get a brief discussion or a brief understanding of what happened. On page 36 is our report on internal controls. So we don't just come in and look at the final numbers. We actually go through and test processes and procedures of the airport and come up with any weaknesses or that we have. This year we had no deficiencies identified. On page 38, there is a report on compliance for each major federal program. So the past couple of years, the district didn't spend enough of federal money to have a single audit. This year they did. So we go through and make sure that they're in compliance of spending all that money the proper way and have the proper documentation. And on page 40, there's findings and recommendations on that testing. There were no findings identified in the current year. So overall, it was a clean audit. Now on to the numbers. Revenues, this is from 2018 to 2019. Operating revenues were up $17,000. Hangar rentals had increased about $172,000 due to the new hangars that were built. And then operating revenues were down about $260,000 due to lower fuel sales. So non-operating revenues were up $1.6 million. This was due to the federal grants that I just discussed a little bit earlier, and property taxes were also up a little bit to $279,000. Operating expenses, that should say increased, I'm sorry, $2.3 million. But that's mainly just being due to the spending of the federal grant money and finishing up projects throughout the district. So as a result, overall, there was a decrease in net position of $394,000 compared to an increase of $286,000 in the prior year. The assets decreased $542,000. This was mainly spending the restricted cash for the hangar, so the loan that the district took to build those hangars, that was all spent this year. Liabilities also decreased $608,000. There were some decreases to accounts payable. Then there was also a larger payment down of the loan that was decided to be made, and an increase of the net pension liability of $237,000. So overall, the district's sitting at a good net position at $53.8 million. 46.8 of this is invested in capital assets, leaving unrestricted at about $7 million, where the prior year was $9.3 million. And then there's a note in the report at note 8 that shows the board designation of those unrestricted net assets. I have a couple of graphs here. So this is a growth from 2002 to 2019. So it's been growing over the years. The past 4 years have just kind of been staying steady here. This green one is the net position. That's due mainly to work around the community that you guys have been doing and helping support the community. This is the growth of capital assets since 2009. You can see there were a lot of projects finished in 2019. So there's almost $70 million in capital assets for the district. So along with the audit report, there are two separate letters. There's one, a communication charged with governance. So it's basically a letter to you guys. Discusses any significant difficulties encountered with the audit. There were none. The main issue was just trying to figure out how to do it all remotely. Any audit adjustments, we did help out with the net pension liability calculation. So we did have an adjustment there, but that was expected. No disagreements with management, no other significant audit issues. We also issue a management recommendation letter where if we had any recommendations of processes or procedures, but we didn't have any in the current year. So everything went smoothly. So overall comments, our audit opinion is unmodified. We didn't have any control deficiencies identified. District has a good unrestricted net position and an excellent management team. So thanks again to Kelly for helping us out through all this. Any questions for me?
I had a question when we're actually into the statement of net position on page 13. Where it has property tax receivable, and it was 3.3 million. But in other places, you talk about property taxes as 6.9 million, and I'm curious about that.
The 6.9 is the total revenue for
Right.
the year, and then the 3 million is what has not been collected yet. So that will come in I believe that payment comes in January, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Kelly? So
that's just the receivable portion. The fiscal year with the counties is July to June. So our fiscal year is off by 6 months. So we always have a receivable at the end of the year that we get into the next fiscal.
Okay, I just, because 18 would have received, it's like how we pay our property taxes. Yeah, they bump over 2 years, but as a receivable, wouldn't that be the previous year plus a year? I guess I'm confused, because in 18, we didn't receive 3 million, we received 6.6 million as well. I don't understand it.
Well, the 6.9 million in revenues does include that 3 million in receivable, and in the prior year the same thing. So it's kind of half year collected and half year receivable, but the full amount is recorded as the revenue.
So it doesn't come in as an asset until only half of it comes in as an asset during the given year. But
yes.
if the fiscal year is July to June, half of 18 would show up in 19, and then half of 19 would show up.
Let's see, because the second half of 19 is going to be received in 2020. So it'd be half of the 6.9 would be the 3.3.
But then in 18, you're also showing 3.3163813, but it would have received half in 18 and half of 17. I mean, you do this for a living, but to me, it's like and you show it as property tax as the 6.9 million in other places.
Right, and that's what's recorded as the revenue for January 1st to December 31st is the 6.9 million, but only 3 million got received during your fiscal year. and then the rest will be collected in 2020.
I guess in 18 we made the switch of fiscal years, right?
That was 7. Yeah. So let's see. Yes.
So that's why only half shows up in 18. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Mary, we estimate throughout the year. So every month you'll see the revenue portion of that. But then what we actually receive in cash is based on their fiscal year.
Right.
So at the end of the year, there's always a receivable of what we haven't received yet. We'll get that in January, February, depending on when.
And
the county
that makes
ends
sense for 19. Yeah, for 19, I get that, but for 18, it would seem like it would all show up. But if that's when we made the switch, then that makes sense. On the note payable, also on that page, note payable non-current portion, the 6.8 million, is that for the hangars in 19?
Yes.
Okay. Where's that? Somewhere else it was showing up on page 23, and it shows the balance at December 31st, 2019 is 7.19.
Yeah, so if you look back on page 13, under current liabilities, there's a note payable current portion of 290,000. That's what's going to be paid out in 2020 fiscal year. So we break it out. Current liabilities are described as liabilities that will be paid out within 1 year. So we break it out into 1 year and then the following payments.
That's the 7109. Got it. Thank you. Okay. Okay, thanks. And
Any
then
other questions?
The only other one on page 10, did you write that up, or is that something internally we wrote up? Transparency, commitment to community, noise and annoyance mitigation.
That's verbatim from our budget.
That's from our budget, okay. So, thank you.
Any other questions from anybody?
Not for
I
me.
would like to move that we approve the audit and thank Kelly Wu for a wonderful job she's doing.
I second that.
And public comment before we vote?
There is no public comment.
Dave?
And a great big thank you to Mike for making this happen, because this was a super weird audit done remotely, and I don't think either one of us have had one like this before.
Yeah. Hopefully next year's easier.
Right. Thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Kelly. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank Kelly. I know I can't second motions, but
Thank you.
they worked very hard on that. Try and do it remotely was interesting to watch, but I appreciate all their hard work.
Hey, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
All right. Vice President Hetherington,
Yes.
Director Morrison,
Yes.
President Odette,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Fabulous. Thanks again, Kelly and Mike. Nonprofit storage option proposal.
Yeah, I'll just kick this one off. I'll have Dave Hoffman will come in here in a second, but we played around with this concept for a little while of actually moving all of our nonprofits into one central location on the airport that has landside access, meaning that folks don't have to drive their vehicles out to hangars or the base of the tower, or places like that to store stuff. And so over the years, we've had multiple nonprofits, pigeonholing and stuffing things in different corners of the airport that's worked just fine. But we have this concept that I'm going to have Dave present, where we can move them all over by the shop and allow them to, we would help with this initially, but they would pay us back, allowing them to have their own container where they can store those things, and then in return we'll be able to put a couple of hangars back into full aeronautical use. So we wanted to show this to you. There's a little bit of cost up front that we want to just get board opinion and direction on, and then we'll go from there. So Dave, do you want to show the concept and what you're thinking there?
Yeah, Hardy, would you be able to bring up 6A? So this is to the east side of the maintenance shop, as you see, and the access would be off Shandell Avenue, which is also a year-round access. It is on the land side, so no gates to go through, and a reduction of any challenge for having an incursion with an aircraft. Presentation, or what I'm presenting here, is that we were looking at having a 20-foot wide road that's 140 feet long, that you could access from Shandell, get in. We could plow that in the winter time, and there would be an access to each of these. What I've got right there is 8 containers right now, but that could be expanded as needed. It would give folks the opportunity, like I say, year round with no supervision from us. We've got the most expensive part of this right now is the paving side of it, along with the grubbing and getting the rock laid down where the containers will sit. And we've got a quote for just over $22,000 for that work. And then speaking with the folks down in the Bay Area, the Connex group, I've got a quote for the containers to come in at about $13,000 delivered to Truckee. And that area, having the earthen berm around it, would shield it from the WAB, long-term parking, Airport Road, and Soaring Way. So we think we could get it camouflaged of sorts, non-obtrusive to the eye, and then paint them a proper neutral color for the surroundings to, again, not bring any attention to them.
Just a couple little follow-up things. Our intent would be to, ourselves get painters and get them painted so that there's some uniformity to them, but we would look to find a way to have the nonprofits purchase them from us so that they would end up having the container, and then we would charge a small annual fee. We thought maybe $250 so they have a skin in the game, and that would cover snow removal and a few other things that we did in there. But this is something we've been looking at trying to do for a little while. We thought this might be a good way to do it. We just wanted to get your input and possible approval. I do have down that we would use our pavement maintenance fund to accommodate this request. I don't think we'd be $40,000 into it, but it'll be right around that amount, and then we'd be able to recover quite a bit of that over a little bit of time from those same groups to purchase their container. So that's kind of what we have.
I think it's brilliant. We get to put some hangars back in service.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Yeah.
Any downsides?
I don't know if, we did check with Nevada County, and Hardy talked to those folks over there. And we've also talked to the town of Truckee, and we have a little more work to do with the towns to make sure they know what we're doing. This is in the county, so the county is the one that would approve it, but it is general warehousing and storage is a regulated land use. So we'd want to make sure that we were meeting all the county guidelines, and also make sure the town knows what we're doing.
New containers? Question mark?
No, they would be used. I spoke with an individual today who's kind of the broker. What they do is they get one-way containers from China, is how it works, and these would be used once. They come in under a worthy and working model, and he assured me that like the ones that Hardy used, same contractor, that they're available, and those are in good working shape also.
Any other questions?
I also think it's a good idea for storage, you know, and then we open up hangars and we're not putting them in warehouses. This is what I guess there's a demand for.
There's lots of demand.
Can you put us back on the 9-person screen? There you go. There you are. Any other questions from the board, or should we ask for public comment? Dave, any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, let's do it.
We have a sample motion in the packet. Someone could read that. Or, yeah.
I can read it. I'll make a move to approve the attached nonprofit storage proposal and to allocate funds not to exceed $40,000 for the project.
I'll second.
Have a second?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Vice President Hetherington,
Yes.
Director Morrison,
Yes.
President Audit,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Wallace.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good idea.
So calling for general election, is this just a formality?
Yeah, it is. We have to do it every year of the election leading up. It needs to be turned in by July 1st to both counties. So it's business as usual.
So do we need to talk about this at all, or we just need
Not
to make a
really.
motion?
No,
Okay.
not really. You just need to approve the 2 resolutions.
Okay. Who wants to make these motions?
Public comment first.
Oh yeah, public comment. Any public comment on the, what do we call these? General election for Nevada and Placer County resolutions.
There is no public comment.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-04 of Truckee Tahoe Airport District. Resolution calling a general district election for Nevada County and to waive the reading.
Second.
Okay, Vice President Hetherington,
Yes.
Yes.
President Audit,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Wallace.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-05 of the Truckee Tahoe Airport District, declaring an election be held in its jurisdiction, requesting a board of supervisors to consolidate this election with any other election conducted on said date, and requesting election services by the county clerk of Placer County, and to waive the reading.
Second.
Okay, Vice President Hetherington,
Yes.
right, Director Morrison,
Yes.
President Audit,
Yes.
Director Stevens,
Yes.
Director Wallace.
Yes.
Awesome. Monthly ACAT report with an action item.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, David.
Hi, how is everyone doing? You guys are moving along fast in this meeting today. Although, yeah, I guess it is the second one. All right, so here's the ACAT meeting for May 5th. It was our first virtual meeting, and I'm thrilled to say that everybody was able to attend. So that was encouraging. Our action items were the minutes from the previous meeting, flight procedures discussion, which is rendered a little moot based on your previous meeting, but I'll catch you up on that in a second. And our Trails Ad Hoc Committee. And then we had a presentation on the virtual meeting guidelines, which you're all familiar with as well. So on the flight procedures, staff, we got to present a presentation similar to what you got during your workshop today about the various procedures that staff is looking into. And ACAT agreed that or felt that it was a good idea to recommend to you that at least there be a focus on that Cigna departure off of 29 to immediately reduce the burden on the communities north of the field right now. It's unfortunate you didn't really get to see that heat map, but when you do get to see it, that'll make that a little bit clearer. But it seems like you all agreed on that earlier, and you're kind of nothing much to do there. But just so you know, ACAT is on board with you on that. And then on the Trails project, we had a discussion about that. The phase 2 plan complete. Because of there was a decision to move forward. Staff, I talked to Hardy about this. Hardy was on board with this too. To another extent that would be about a maximum $5,000 investment. Because of the recent change in ACAT bylaws, we now have to ask you to approve that funding. We don't have we sort of authorized ourselves to approve that. I don't know, Hardy, do we do that now, or should I just finish this up and then deal with that afterwards? I'm guessing we do just finish it up afterwards.
Do it at the end.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Hardy's not here. Sorry about that. Okay, so moving on to the next thing, where the slide just says project, but this is the emergency landing map. I'm happy to say that is complete. Thanks to my inexperience with government stuff, I failed to realize last time when I talked to you that it had to go before ACAT before it came to you. So this project is done. The map is done. David Van Quest did a fantastic job. Mark Hovey did a fantastic job. We're really, really happy about the whole thing. But Hardy advised me that I should not be showing it to you this month because I need to show it to ACAT next week, and then you will see it the following month. And then after you are okay with it, it will get approved. But it's done. I think it's going to be a good thing. And on the next thing, Safe Haven, same exact situation. We've got the policy complete and approved. It needs to go before ACAT next week. And then after, assuming ACAT has no issues with it, then we will bring that to you in your meeting, your next meeting. The next project down in the real estate guide, we do have a draft of this, and we will bring that again before ACAT next week to get ACAT's approval on that. And then we're going to talk to a real estate contact in the community, and then bring that to you next month as well. So those 3 projects are either done or back on track. I'm very happy about that. And then on the last thing is the voluntary curfew. This is the same thing that we were talking about before about the change in the hangar curfew, and staff is doing a pilot survey on that. And I guess we will see an update on that in our next meeting next week. And that's it for ACAT. So we just need to find out if you're all on board with the additional expenditure for trails of no more than $5,000.
I have a quick question, Teresa. Is that all right?
Of course.
Yeah. So David, thanks for that update overall. Just for the sake of a little bit of transparency as well as catching me up, could you just talk in a little bit more detail about the general expectation for that expenditure or series of expenditures?
Honestly, Lisa, I wish I could, but Hardy would be the one to tell you what state they're at with it, because this is all, it's something that he was working on that he's concerned about, or not concerned about, but thinking that even if we were to delay any other further trail stuff, that this would be an investment. So I'm wondering, Hardy, can you answer Lisa's question?
Yeah, essentially the phase 2 trails plan has been complete, and it outlines a connector coming from all the way from the Legacy Trail up to the North Star Trailhead. There's a little triangle of ground right next to the Porter Simon building that's privately owned. It's been in and out of escrow several times, and I've been in conversation with the owner of that parcel, Caltrans and Placer County, to try and talk about getting an easement. And the easement would allow the connection point outlined in the Phase 2 master plan so that the final connection could go all the way through from the Legacy Trail to the North Star Trailhead. So the goal would be really to engage a real estate professional to work through the whole concept with Caltrans, with Placer County, and with the owner, and could be in escrow, could be out of escrow. It seems to go in and out of escrow. But really try and navigate through that process to secure an easement for a future trail, which would make it a little bit more appealing to somebody like the town or another private developer who is doing co-located site work to get a trail put in there.
So it's adjacent, it's in the corner where Porter Simon is.
Yeah, it's just due west of Porter Simon, in between Porter Simon and the self-storage and the gas station. It's a little triangle parcel. It's got a lot of frontage, but the back of it goes back into a corner. So Placer County doesn't feel that the parcel is necessarily ultimately very valuable, but it's got a lot of frontage, and that frontage abuts a very wide easement from Caltrans. And so there's a lot of agencies that come into play when trying to get a trails easement through there. Placer County is of the mindset that anybody who develops that parcel will be required to place either a sidewalk or a trails easement on it. So it's not like we're asking for something unusual. We're just simply trying to get it secured so we can do more future trail planning.
Isn't it down in the hole?
It is down in a hole. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's in Placer County, correct?
It's in Placer County.
And the gas station and the Hampton Inn and behind the Rayleighs, the trail's supposed to go behind all of those. And Rayleighs, have they built that portion of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Hampton and the grocery store though have not.
They have. So it runs. Yeah, there's trail there that goes past the gas station.
Oh, really? Okay.
So again, I think Kevin Smith and the board have really at least given the direction to me that I've relayed to ACAT that we're not necessarily in the trail building business, but we're the centerpiece of the hub. So we connect and separate the Legacy Trail from everything on the North Star side. So incumbent upon us to do what we can. Seems like a small amount of investment trying to complete the items outlined in the Phase 2 master plan, and that's what the expenditure was for.
Does there a trail on Porter Simon's part?
No, they have an easement that goes down their embankment all the way to their parking lot right there through Caltrans. And really Caltrans is the tent pole. They're going to be the person we really have to have this professional engage with and work with Placer County and Caltrans and the landowner to integrate all those details.
Sounds great.
Maybe I could add real quick. One project that is coming, you'll see here in the next few months, is we are building a sidewalk on our property on that corner on the east side of that intersection, which will improve the signal to get people across 267 and also provide a sidewalk from that corner all the way to the airport. Well, almost to the airport. I guess it goes all the way, yeah.
That's where the old parking lot where people were selling cars.
Yeah, we spent a year, and I don't even want to tell you how much money I will, but getting a permit from Caltrans. It was a long process for Auerbach to work through that, but we got it. So it's out to bid. We'll be out to bid.
Any other questions? Any public comment?
No public comment.
So we need a motion?
Yeah, it could just be a motion to approve the $5,000 expenditure on trails work as proposed by ACAT.
So moved.
I move that we approve a not to exceed $5,000 expenditure for the trails work proposed by ACAT.
I'll second it.
to do public comment, or we good there?
Believe it or not.
We did it, and there was none.
All right, perfect. Vice President Hetherington,
Yes.
Director Morrison, Director Morrison. Did we lose him?
I promise I'm here. Sorry.
Did you vote yes?
Yes, I think it's awesome.
All right. All right. President Odette
Yes.
and Director Stevens,
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. All right, quarterly safety report. That's I see Stacy is online.
Real quick, the new report. You remember in the old days we used to have a little box in the bottom of our community dashboard that said safety, and we thought, hey, these things are different. And Stacy, our safety and security manager, and doing a great job. And so quarterly, we'll just have her do a summary and a report on her activities, because we think they'll be of interest to the board and the public. So, Stacy.
Good afternoon, y'all. How you doing? We'll start out with some of the great training that we've done here at the airport. We've hit four OSHA topics in the first 3 months. We do 15 are scheduled total throughout the year. We've done 5 airport specific trainings, everything from reviewing our standard operating procedures to doing computer-based training for active shooter. And then we actually had a Central California Intelligence Center, which is the arm of the Homeland Security here in California. They came in and we hosted a human trafficking course. And along with us, our employees, we also invited Surfair, our commercial driving companies, resorts and hotels. That was a great training. Next is construction. It is construction season, and so we are sitting down weekly and doing safety meetings to discuss any of our concerns with the interface between airport operations and construction operations. If you've been into the airport lately, looking to the north, we are doing our mastication of vegetation on the north side of runway 1129. We're removing that preferred forage and cover for wildlife, and it just expands by 200 feet to the north. It expands that area between wildlife and aircraft, which is a great idea.
And it removed all the boulders, right?
What's that?
Removed all the boulders too.
Yeah, we will be removing all those boulders also. So those are the additional safety benefits that come with that mastication program, with the wildlife mitigation program, which it increases that smooth, flat area between up over on the right-hand side of runway 29, just in case there are off-runway accidents with aircraft. It also expedites that accessibility for fire and rescue vehicles. In addition, it also helps with fuels reduction. So, any questions on those so far? We have put numerous COVID-19 safety measures in place, everything from sneeze guards to scheduling sanitation in vehicles and buildings. And lastly, our safety management system. We have had 15 safety reports this first quarter, 3 on the ops and maintenance side, 3 on the aviation side, 2 ramp services, and 5 hangar door momentary safety switch reports. Safety reports do point out our safety concerns. At the same time, I want to point out 2 that point to our safety improvements. One of those is on the aviation side. Tower did an incredible job on Martin Luther King weekend. They stayed for an additional hour, and they helped support that traffic that came in on that Friday which was an additional 19 landings and 20 takeoffs in that hour. So that was very, very helpful, especially on the safety side, both air and ground. Another one I'd like to point out is the success of a momentary safety switch. What is that one?
Hangers.
Yep, down on the hangers. The cable had actually jumped the sheave that caused the cable to wind incorrectly. Because we had a person physically standing at the switch, they were able to stop the door immediately. So they helped to stop a situation from becoming dangerous or more costly. So I'd like to point out those two improvements that we've got on the safety report side. If you guys have any questions, I'm ready.
None for me, but great job.
Thank you, Teresa.
I was just the misfueling of an aircraft. What was that?
Yes, ma'am. We did have a misfueling of an aircraft in early March. We put 16 gallons extra into a wing tank of a Citation jet. Through that,
Okay.
we did the investigation on it. We determined the causal factors, which were mostly human factors. We put those controls in place, and that's what we do. We try to eliminate that risk, reduce that risk.
And that wasn't a significant enough amount to affect their calculations on departure?
No, ma'am, it was not. No, it was not. And if it had been, we would have had to defuel that plane 16 gallons.
Okay. And the loader struck a parked vehicle?
Yes,
Loader
ma'am.
struck
During
removal?
During snow removal operations, yes.
Just didn't see it, or just
No,
bigger?
it was during a turn, and he slid and he nicked the bumper of a parked vehicle.
Pilot deviation, aircraft landed on the wrong runway. What were they given directions and they just didn't understand, or?
Yes, ma'am. Sometimes you can get disoriented as a pilot, so they were cleared to land on runway 29, and they landed on runway 2. The air traffic controllers took care of that incident, along with Hardy's supervision, and they did read the Brasher notification to that pilot.
Okay. Okay. And then 2 people walking down 220. How did that?
Yes, ma'am. During the winter again, they took a walk on Martis Dam Road, which we plow. There wasn't enough snow to prohibit them from walking past 3 no trespassing signs and onto the runway at the skydive area. And they walked down the runway. We were lucky that day in the fact that it was an overcast day, low ceilings, and so there were very few aircraft that came in that day. The whole incident was about 2 hours.
Okay. I mean, I really appreciate this. I think this is great. The 19 arrivals and 20 departures, that was on a Friday between 7 and 8?
Between 6 and 7.
Between 6 and 7, because they normally leave at 6?
During the winter hours, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that a high number? I mean, I don't know if this is Hardy or you, or
That's
is that?
PM. So I think that's PM, Mary. That's a
Yeah. Right. And I mean, do we normally see numbers like that? 19 arrivals and 20 departures in 1 hour?
Yes. Well, we also had snow removal operations that day, and we did not open the runway until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We were able to open up 1129.
Okay.
So we had a lot of aircraft having to slide to that afternoon. So it was very helpful.
Okay. And I was just asking in general, not necessarily specific to that, but asking Hardy or Kevin or Dave, that's 38 operations in 1 hour. Is that typical?
MLK. Yeah, MLK, Presidents, and those weekends are high traffic, and they're usually in and out because of the like Stacy was saying, as it gets dark, obviously they want to conclude their operations. But yeah, that's very common during those holiday weekends.
So that's like one every 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, if you have 500 ops a day for that operating period of the tower, you're having an operation every minute. And that's just for a very brief period of time for the peak periods that are usually arrival in the 10:30 to noon and then departure 4:30 to 6 p.m. ish.
Yeah, I just, that's 1.5 operations per minute or per hour. Yeah. That's a lot, to give that sense of perspective.
Yeah, that's why we want the tower active during that period.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's your line. All right. Thank you very much.
I would just maybe ask the new. So we don't need to do anything else you'd like to see or hear in the safety and security. Let us know.
I think it's great. Any public comment?
There is no public comment. Nice report,
Okay.
Stacy.
Yes, thanks, Stacy. Okay. General manager's report. Oh no, monthly fiscal financial. Kelly?
Hi.
Hi.
So just want to talk a little bit about the 4 months ending in April. You guys have copies of all this in with the board packet. Our FBO service revenues, believe it or not, we're still ahead of our budget, $23,000, which is awesome, and almost $100,000 ahead of 2019. So even though we've had some struggles, we're still doing okay. Again, we didn't have a whole lot of snow, so that meant more traffic, which helped out for sure. And like we talked about in the past, April for sure took a hit on fuel sales. But like I said earlier, in May, things are for sure looking up. And just to give you some fun facts I was sending to Kevin the other day, last year in May, we sold almost 22,500 gallons of jet fuel. And as of the 25th, we're at almost 21,000. So we're neck and neck with last year on jet, and 100 low lead, we're already far beyond 2019. So it's exciting. At least we're keeping up on some of that and seeing some good trends, at least picking up in May. So I expect, we still have a few more days left here. I expect to see that surpass completely last year. Our hangar revenues, other business leasing, warehouse, they were under slightly 42,000, but ahead of last year as well. Did a lot of leasing revenue with the plane, again, with the good weather, and people were out flying a lot. And let's see, our other income was under 41,000, but we're still 137,000 ahead of last year. So at the end of the day, our revenues are slightly under by 60,000 all in, but we are 299,000, 300,000 ahead of 2019. So exciting stuff on the revenue front. On expense side, we're slightly under budget on our payroll, but the majority of the reason that our bottom line is ahead almost $1 million is our operating G&A expenses, as well as repair and maintenance. We've done a great job at not spending money we don't need to, but also getting projects done and doing what we need to do, but making good choices and certainly being fiscally responsible with kind of what's going on in the world right now. So our net income is $378,000 to a budget loss of $577,000. And like we were talking about earlier with the reforecast, we did take down revenues.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah, everybody froze on mine, all the sound and people, but you're back.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So like we've talked about before, we did reforecast the second quarter slightly, and we actually have been beating that reforecast. So things are still looking pretty good, but we also need to keep a close eye on everything while doing the projects that need to be done, trying to support the local economy as best we can, but just, also keeping it in check, knowing that it's sort of unknown these next few months it's going to happen. Does anyone have any questions?
I had a question on the 4 months ending, the actual spreadsheet.
Yep.
And for the control tower, for this month's budget, it was 71,000, and it actual was 137,000. And I'm curious why that is.
I think it's just the timing of invoices, but let me pull it up. Hang on one sec. Yeah, year to date we're 274,000 to a budget of 286. So we're slightly under budget, and that's actually due to an increase that I think I may have the timing wrong on when the contract goes up. I might have it a few months early because it's up for not renewal, but the monthly fee changes each year.
Okay, so that's like 2 months then in that current month at 147. I need to look at the 4 months, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Because it works out to about $2,300 a month, a day is what we're paying for the control tower, essentially.
If you look at the year-to-date number in the F column.
Yeah, and divide that by the 121 days, it's like $2,300 a day is what we're paying for it to staff it. Okay.
Anybody else?
No.
One observation on the revenue side. I'm curious to see how the rental car concession revenue tracks. I think we only made $dollars in April when we usually would make about $15,000. So there are a couple that are pretty heavily impacted due to COVID, but I am pleased overall that revenues are tracking okay. But as Kelly said, we are trying to be conservative. We may be able to open up the wallet a little bit more and get more projects going as we see continued performance. But we also do have a lot of projects out that we've deployed trying to get people to work, and we're going to cover that in the GM report. A couple things there. But anyways, that's we're optimistic, I guess, budget wise, more so than maybe we were 2 months ago.
Great.
I think it looks great, and surprised that it's on track. Where would we be if we didn't have COVID? It's awesome. Any other questions?
Well, I was just going to say, Teresa, it could be one of those odd, or what we initially perceived as odd. Maybe it isn't really effects of COVID. You were mentioning earlier the lift in real estate sales, very recent lift in real estate sales, and it could be some of that same effect happening with the airport, right? We wouldn't have thought that maybe 45 or 60 days ago, but we're seeing it in the last 15 days. So 20 days.
The leisure, where our community, not just the airport, may recover quicker financially is at least a lot of the national prognosticators and trending, and then particularly with aviation, is there people are optimistic that the recreation and the leisure traveler is going to recover much quicker than business travel, the other types of travel. And I think we're experiencing a little bit of that, of pent up demand. But again, we got to watch and see how this rolls over time.
Any other questions?
No.
Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, now we're really on the general manager's report.
Yes, here we are. So just item one, pretty much all travel and training and conferences are discontinued or canceled. As I've on a couple of the committees I'm on, national committees, general aviation with the Board of Examiners and others, most airports have restricted travel just to save money, because there are a lot of airports that are really struggling with the loss of past facility charges and parking revenues and other things. So bottom line is, I think we're going to be a few months into 21 before any of us go anywhere for any type of travel. So everything you see there, pretty postponed. That's all I have for that. Mountain Housing Council. Rick, did you want to do a quick report on your activities there?
Very simple. The county's putting out an RFP for a totally different project than they've been working on. A much bigger, more mixed development. And slowly working, but they're trying to make it. Cindy Guston is leading the show and trying to make it not all low-income housing, which freaked out the neighbors.
You talking up here at Dollar Point?
Yes.
Dollar Hill?
Nahas.
Mm-hmm.
Coburn, or not Coburn Crossing. I keep forgetting the name of the thing because the developer, has kind of screwed it up.
Luzondo.
No, that's the different one. That's the one in the town of Truckee that Rick Lee resubmitted in December of 2018, and the town hasn't even looked at his application. Disgusting. That's my report.
Okay. Perfect. The next one was, I was going to just give an update on the Joint Powers Authority, the housing authority that we're a member of. So we had a meeting on the 20th, and some of the things that are going on right now, and I hope you like my glasses. I bought these at CVS. I don't like it on the iPad, but they certainly help my eyes. There is an employee housing needs assessment that's coming out. It's going to be really handy that the JPA is doing to assess housing needs of the 4 members and their employees. So that's coming. Lauren has been working hard on that with the consultant. She's also my alternate on that committee. I want to congratulate her for that. She's excited. And then the group went through adopting all of the policies that you need for purchasing and credit card policy and the agency budget and work plan and went through all of that. So the bottom line is the JPA is up and running. There's a housing needs assessment coming, and then they're also working on a project with Landing, a local vendor that helps put people in dormant or vacation rentals. So people have vacation rentals and they want to put a tenant in it for long term. Landing comes in and helps to shepherd that along. So the JPA is working with Landing, to get a product quick that we can use. So we can get more robust housing products for our employees. So that's kind of what's going on with the JPA. Any questions on the JPA?
I hear you have an amazing. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, Kevin, I'm not sure if I heard this from you, but the JPA has hired 1 or 2 staff people.
Yeah, so Emily Vitus is our executive director. She actually is an employee of the hospital district because she can't be a contractor. So the hospital district employs her, and then we pay the hospital district. The membership pays that fee as part of our regular budget.
I just wanted to say I heard she was amazing.
Great job. She's doing a great job.
She used to be with the Community Foundation, and she is good. Very good.
She's also working on our community agency partnership program. So we're working with her on that. But yeah, she is the executive director. I think it's executive director of the JPA.
Cool.
All right. So the next item. So every May, I bring forward just a GM report on the annual cost of living adjustment for employees. That's actually done in June as an action item, but I always like to give the board a month to think about that and get any thoughts that you have before that it gets put, usually in June. Looking at the April index, it's about 1.5%. We actually use May index for a July 1st start. So that's, again, just a rolling agenda item that I wanted to. Any questions on that or any comments?
So the May COLA will, I mean, what the the West, AB or BC, whatever it'll come out in May. It comes out before the next board meeting.
Yes. So we'll put that on, and I did make sure that people know that the GM's not subject to that. So just for negotiating purposes, negotiate, but that is done annually with my. For all the other employees, it's done in July. So, any questions? I'm not seeing none.
Mm-hmm.
So item 5 is the Airshow update. As you know, we talked about this last month, but it is postponed to September. There is still some optimism as of today, in talking with some of the Airshow committee members, of trying to be able to do something, probably an Airshow light in September. 2 things that have kind of come up that I wanted to mention real quick is, the first one is I do intend to go ahead and do the pay the organizations for all the work they've done on the show, whether we do it or not. The Airshow service fee is $22,000 a year to each nonprofit. That's an agreement we've signed with them going back 3 years. But they've put a ton of effort and time into that. But I just want to make sure the board understood that my intent is to still fund that. All that money goes to fund their youth and children's program. Is pizza parties for the Optimists or for the EAA chapter. It's all for their youth programs. And so, unless there's any concern, I'm going to move forward with that. Then the second thing that I can take questions is, the Airshow committee is looking at, because we still feel it's probably unlikely that the show will happen in September, because the state would need to be in phase 4. Happen? Will that happen by September? Is hard to know, but probably a difficult ask. But they are looking at maybe putting together a bringing in some of the same warbirds that we had talked about for the air show for the July 4th weekend, and doing a community flyover, maybe you can red, white, smoke, and work with the town, the county, the Truckee, to do a patriotic commemorative flyover on the 4th of July, using a little bit of their air show budget to do that. So that's something they're trying to get pricing and logistics on, and it could be a kind of fun thing. It was highly successful and popular in the Los Angeles area. Got on Memorial Day, some of these same airplanes that we're talking about bringing in. We've done a couple of other memorial flyovers. The High Rollers in Reno did that a few weeks back, and so that's something that the air show's looking at doing. So those are just 2 things, if there's any comment on that.
Yeah, if we're able to go ahead with the flyovers on the 4th of July, which I tend to really like that idea. I think it is important, really important, to keep one element that is a memorial element and an acknowledgement that, especially by the 4th of July, with a good amount of luck, we hope a good amount of optimism, we'll be further into the recovery from COVID, but many, many, many people impacted and suffering. There'll still be very, very high unemployment even in our area. So I love, of course, acknowledging the patriotism, but to keep part of the element of it, an acknowledgement of the suffering that we're experiencing locally, as well as the recovery.
It's a great point, and that would be kind of part of it, is something fun and different to kind of acknowledge. So, yeah. Other comments on that?
My other question is, we've contracted with a lot of entities to come here for the air show, and if it ends up not happening, or some of them can't come in September, what happens I'm assuming we put deposits down. Does it carry over year, and how much did it all add up to?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of money out right now, but there is probably $30,000 out in different fees and expenses that we paid for. Most of those will roll forward to 2021. Okay. We'll have those same folks in, and they'll honor, a later year, to be able to do that. We'll get some back. But right now, the Airshow Committee is still hoping to put something on in September if they can, and we'll see how that goes. They're going to have to talk about this flyover versus the air show. But one thing that happened is some of the performers that were coming for the July 11th can't come, and so some of the money they would use for the flyover for the 4th would be that anyways. The show in September is going to be smaller. It wouldn't be the same as what you're typically experienced if they do one. Okay, that's kind of the latest on the air show.
Okay. Sorry, just wanted to stay on the air show. I meant to say this earlier. Sorry. I appreciate that everybody's being optimistic but measured about it. And I also appreciate kind of the thread that there's been through many years of the air show of safety. Probably an epidemic hasn't been one of the things we've really had to think about in past years, but I just want to say I'm sure that they will. So I want to say acknowledge, even though we haven't heard from them. I just really acknowledge that the planning committee will really take the pandemic safety measures fully into account, even with the scaled down air show. I see Stacy nodding. So yeah, just really appreciate that. So we don't become the Ozark super spreader event of the North Tahoe region.
Yeah, no, I mean, we won't do it unless things like the Reno air races are happening, that there's large gatherings at college sporting events, things like that. If all of that is not happening, we're not gonna do it. And if they do something, we're gonna follow every county and state guideline that's out there. Even on this flyover, I'm going to be checking, and I've already actually checked with somebody in the area managers meeting. I mentioned this is a concept we may be thinking about, and I want to know if our police chief and our fire chiefs are concerned that us advertising a 4th of July flyover may attract people or have any type of impact of complicating anything we're doing. So we're going to check all those things and make sure that we're part of a celebration and a solution rather than causing problems, being outside of what our community wants to be doing. Okay, thank you for all that. Summer pavement projects. I just wanted to quickly let you know the latest that's happening. Q&A with our low bidder on our Taxaway Alpha project, and so it came in underneath our engineer's estimate, which was really nice. The FAA is working through the final agreement. We're hoping project out quickly. There was an issue with the runway end identifier lights that is an FAA system, and so there's a little bit of delay with two departments of the FAA working with each other on the final design. Not much we could have done about that, but it's still going to move forward. It's looking good that we'll get that Taxaway Alpha project going. We may be able to add a little bit of Tax Lane Tango into that project, so that one's coming up. You might, if you ever been up to the airport, you'll notice over there by CareFlight, the new helipad is going in. That's going to be a really nice facility, enhancing safety for our emergency medevac folks. The wash rack is almost done. That's a new asset for our pilot community to be able to wash airplanes and be in a compliant wash rack area. Then a little bit later, agenda, or the next item I was going to mention is using some of the CARES Act funds to pave the area in front of the fire station over here. That's a little bit that we own that we're going to pave with that. Obviously, we're going to talk about doing we already talked about the nonprofit container storage area, that pavement. We're also going to pave around the shop. That's some older pavement that's around the shop, and then the little road that goes into the fuel farm. So those are you'll see happening around the airport this summer, and we'll still probably have some, because the FAA is funding 100% of our grant, the $4.5 million grant. There'll probably still be people in there at the end of the year. We're still looking to see if there's ways we can use all of that money, but we've got a lot we're doing. So it's keeping our plate full just with what we have. Dave Hoffman, any other thing you want to add to that, or?
No, Kevin, I think you touched all the high points right there. A lot of activity out there on the field.
And I want to thank Dave's guys. Dave and out there on site. He learned from one of the best, Fred Stoner, being an active on-site manager. So he's out there all the time, watching over the projects and making sure they're our standards. So thank you for that. Any other questions, statements from the board?
No, sir.
All right.
Not me.
And then this takes you to the CARES Act funding. So we did get this $157,000. We did get the grants signed, and they're back to the FAA. And I think we are now eligible to start withdrawing from Delphi, the FAA's system. And what we had proposed to use that money for, and I'm just looking for some consensus. I can bring it on as a regular agenda item if you want. But we thought we'd accelerate the replacement of one of our ops vehicles, and then also use the rest, about $120,000, for some of the same pavement work that we're doing. So that's kind of how we wanted to put the CARES Act funding to work. It is that they gave us that money to help with airport operations and maintenance expenses, things like payroll, things like pavement, replacement of equipment. We can't use it it's interesting. If we use it for pavement AIP projects, then it goes through a whole other process. But just doing regular airfield maintenance, they're fine with that. That's how we wanted to use that money, unless there's any concern. All right, none. We'll move forward with that. And the last thing is just upcoming meetings. As I mentioned in the workshop, I'm optimistic that July 24th we will have a meeting, unless the board chooses another option. Again, we're going to be following Cal OSHA and county health department guidelines for those meetings, but we may be able to have the board staff socially distance of 6 to 10 feet, but still bring the public in remotely. There's some things that we can do there, maybe even be able to have public at but we're working on that. We'll see how that goes. Just a reminder that July 29th is our board meeting. We moved that from July 22nd to accommodate some schedules for some employees. And then our budget workshop is August 26th. We usually do that before the August board meeting. Just a reminder that here in June, you'll start to get some budget information. If board members have ideas for the 2021 budget in June, you'll start to get the information to help us get the August ready. That is my GM report, unless there's any questions on the rolling agenda. That's all I have.
On the rolling agenda, maybe in the July period, I'd like to get some feedback on the 1-1 and Cigna, what the status is, kind of keeping us up to date every couple months.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Any public comment on Kevin's report?
There's no public comment.
Any other board member comments? We're also at board member announcements. Anybody? Okay, then I think we are calling it a wrap.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right. Vice President Hetherington.
Yes.
Director Morrison.
Yes.
President Odette.
Yes.
Director Stevens.
Yes.
Director Hetherington.
Or Director Wallace, yes.
Wallace, sorry.
Alphabetical, Kevin.
It's all right. And it's too many Zoom, too much Zoom, too much screens. Totally get it.
That's a record.
Thank you so much.
Great work today. Appreciate everyone's time.